Hello, I'm Leonard Nimoy. The following theory of Simpson's clones is true. By true, I mean false. They're all lies, but they're entertaining lies. And in the end, isn't that the real truth? The answer is no. Our story begins with Lydia making up another ridiculous theory.
Yeah, you read that title correctly. Mr. Burns is using clones to take over Springfield, and he's replacing your favourite characters one by one. How you say? Well, stick around to the end of this video to find out. Now, have you ever been watching The Simpsons and noticed something's odd? You pause the show and look closer, and you discover that there are two duplicates of the same character in the same shot. At first, you brush this off as an animation error, but it keeps happening to the same characters. This isn't a coincidence. In fact, I think it's intentional. The show's creators are dropping clues for watchful viewers to find. So, for a theory as big as this, I needed some help. So I reached out to Alex Bell, who makes amazing deep dives into SpongeBob SquarePants over on his channel. Seriously, he has really changed the way I watch that show forever. And yes, he is going to help me break down this theory today. So, take it away, Alex.
Thanks, Lydia. Now, let's get into the theory. So throughout all of The Simpsons 33 seasons, there have been little references to SpongeBob hidden in plain sight. Why? Because SpongeBob is actually a literal god in The Simpsons, and this is going to have some major ramifications on the town of Springfield.
Alex, that's not the theory we're talking about today. Did you read the notes I sent you?
Wait, we're not talking about SpongeBob?
Not exactly.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just let me get my other notes from my car.
I don't think he's coming back. So let's cut to this video sponsor, NordPass. NordPass is a simple, easy to use and very secure password manager, which is trusted by more than 14 million worldwide users. And if you're anything like me, then you have a million different passwords for a million different platforms, and I always end up forgetting them. No joke, I've literally reset my Instagram password several times this year alone. But with NordPass, it basically saves all of your passwords securely and auto-fills them too, allowing you to log in so much faster. Plus, NordPass even generates secure passwords by itself, meaning that your accounts are much safer from scammers and hackers. Click the link in the description or use code SimpsonsTheory to get an exclusive offer on a 2-year NordPass premium plan. Plus, you get an additional month completely free and it's risk-free too with a 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the description below. In my last theory, I discussed the Simpsons multiverse, but here's an alternate explanation for the many duplicates of Springfield. I put forward that these duplicates are in fact clones, made by none other than Mr. Burns. The Simpsons is no stranger to the art of cloning, and the technology has only improved as the show's gone on. Going all the way back to season 11's The Mansion Family, Mr. Burns goes out of town for a health checkup, leaving the Simpsons family to house it. And while Marge and Lisa are dusting in Mr. Burns' laboratory, we see test tubes of his clones, and there's even one of Mr. Smithers. Fast forward to season 26, we now see that his cloning technology has vastly improved from this, and we see an entire conveyor belt of Monty Burns clones. One clone named 43 even escapes the facility. But why would he want to clone himself? Let me ask you this. What's the one thing money can't buy? Time. Like most old rich people, especially the evil ones, they want nothing more than to live forever and to continue building upon their enormous wealth and success. Just take a look at Mr. Burns, Lord Voldemort, and Jeff Bezos. And while the rich do live longer than the less fortunate as an average because of better healthcare, they can't extend it indefinitely. We already know that Mr. Burns is pretty obsessed with prolonging his life and the extreme lengths he would go for it, excellently shown in the Springfield files. But Mr. Burns now seems beyond medical procedures to try and mend him, so making clones of himself means he gets to live on indefinitely, and when one clone bites the dust, another wrinkly old crypt keeper is ready to take the throne. He doesn't just clone himself though, he's found a way to clone other residents of Springfield for a totally different reason. As we see in a future episode, the police force has been replaced with an army of incompetent Ralph clones who have also replaced all delivery drivers. And although we don't see it, I wouldn't be surprised if Ralph has also replaced the entire power plant staff too. This idea was even a reality in the Simpsons comic story Smithers's, printed in issue 30. And to basically sum up, Mr. Burns replaces his entire workforce with Smithers clones. Now, I don't want to veer off too much by looking into the comics, but let's just say that OG Smithers wasn't happy at all of the attention Mr. Burns was getting from his clones, resulting in them fighting over the wrinkly old rich man. But it also included a fabulous musical number. I do love those comics. So anyway, why would Mr. Burns be interested in cloning characters like Ralph? Well as immortality, the next item any evil villain like Mr. Burns needs is even more money and even more power, making him completely unstoppable. Monty has found himself at the wrong end of the law on multiple occasions by dumping toxic waste into parks, and he even got sent into the slammer for stealing priceless artworks. And so, by replacing Springfield's law enforcement with obedient clones, it means he has complete and total control over Springfield. Therefore, he can get away with pretty much anything, because he has made these clones with his own means, and he made himself a godlike creator by this point in the show. It's not outside the realm of possibility either. Mr. Burns has tried to replace his entire workforce with robots on many occasions. In the amazing episode Last Exit to Springfield, the power plant employees go on strike, and he brings on robots to replace them, but they soon turn against their master, causing him to abandon that plan and go groveling to Homer's union. He makes another attempt in them robot, and it went as well as you'd expect. The problem with using robots is that they are highly intelligent and will inevitably overthrow their owners. But by cloning the dumbest idiot in town, i.e. Ralph, there is no chance of this. Plus, they are super expendable due to how seamless his cloning manufacturing has become. And also, he doesn't even need to pay them very well, if at all. And we all know how big of a money pincher that Scrooge is. So everything is winning, winning, winning. Speaking of which, Mr. Burns treats his employees so poorly, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if he puts a clause in his employees' contracts that legally allows him to use their DNA. And I don't know about you, but I think it's a bit dodgy that his employees have to do an annual physical. I believe he's taking their DNA for his own nefarious reasons, allowing him to perfect his cloning process for years with an unlimited amount of test subjects. And one unfortunate lab monkey is none other than Homer Simpson, and I believed he used Homer's DNA to create many clones, as we've seen a suspiciously large amount of Homer duplicates throughout the show's running. And Homer has always been shown to be fearful of his boss, as well as being a bit simple like Ralph, therefore making him a very good lab monkey. But I believe that Mr. Burns' biggest guinea pig is poor old Hans Mole Man. We all know that he's an employee of Mr. Burns, and in one instance, when Mole Man requests for a new broom, he's met with Burns' drill through his brain. And despite this fatal act, Mole Man has since reappeared many times. Now, in a couple of my past videos, I've touched on Mole Man being a clone. In fact, we've seen duplicates of him several times in the same frame, and it's no coincidence. I believe Mr. Burns is using poor old Mole Man for his own evil gains. It's mean, and it's just plain wrong. And the most terrible thing of all of this is that despite all of these mole men, not a single person is gay for him.
No one's gay for Mole Man.
And in that same comic I mentioned earlier, Mole Man is literally the clone guinea pig. So, he's got his clones to extend his life, huge amounts of money, the access to the greatest scientific minds, and the power to get away with anything he wants. He's basically ready to push Bezos off his evil throne. Nearly. So, what do you think of this theory? Do you have any theories that you'd like me to explore in the channel? Let me know in the comments below. And also let me know any other characters you've seen duplicated in the same scene. I love to hear it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.